It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
And here we are licking wounds on Cats Talk Wednesday.
That's right.
6 days ago now, TB. 7 days ago, we were on here talking about tomorrow. You know, it's March. It's our time. It's March Madness. Do what we do. It's St. Peter's. And here we are 6 days later. You know, had to. This March Madness didn't go as planned. I guess we can put it that
That's
way.
correct. We can say that it didn't go the way the Big Blue Nation. I'm caught in my cords here. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah, I've been there. Been there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It did not go obviously, like you said, as we thought it was going to go, and as usual, the response from the Big Blue Nation has been swift and powerful and all over the map. And
Yeah.
uh, 2 seed losing to a 15 seed. It's not the novelty it once was. I want to say Syracuse might have been the first two to lose way back when, but I don't know. But it's not quite the novelty it was, but it ain't a regular occurrence either. And so
Mhm.
when you're the two playing the 15, it was just a system failure. It was one of those things where, in retrospect, I think, as you said last week, we talked about uh, what the Cats could do, and I still feel confident in that assessment. But I think a lot of folks, we were ignoring the warning signs. A lot of the issues that we saw against St. Peter's, we had seen for the last couple of games, probably for the last 10 games.
Yeah.
It was obvious the team wasn't the same team once Ty got hurt against Florida. That was the line of demarcation between these guys are good to how are we gonna do this. Um, it just they didn't hit shots and hadn't hit shots for a while. Uh, the offense was stagnant, and it was just one of those things. It just started snowballing, and so when you're not playing well, I think in the regular season there's a freeness to, like, well, okay, this is LSU at home, it's Vandy at home, we can get this. But the postseason's a different animal. And the worst thing to do if you're a top seeded team is if you let the lower seeded team, particularly a double digit seed in the first round, if you let that team hang around until halftime, that's a system fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. I'm not one of these gloom and doom types, but with it being, tied at halftime and thankful to be tied at halftime, I was like, this is not going to go the way we thought.
Mm.
And at some point it's like, just get a win. If it's ugly, just get a win so we can try to fix whatever. But uh, with the way we were playing, we being Kentucky, obviously, uh, we didn't deserve to win that game.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just that
true.
plain that simple. Uh, I don't buy into the St. Peter's and the coach. Is it Holloway? Coach Holloway?
Yeah,
We got
yes.
some New York and New Jersey. Okay, all right. What? Okay, whatever. There are tough people all around the country, right? There are ballers all around the country. We don't need to do that. But I get it. You whatever. You win. You talk. You talk. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was Ty's injury. He couldn't be that dude that we needed him to be for the offense to run. Uh, I think all those minutes. that Davion Mintz and Kellen Grady played when Washington and Severe Wheeler were out. It caught up to them. And I said it then. I said it in spaces. I've said it here. I said these guys don't need to be playing 40 minutes a game because after 3 or 4 or 5 straight 38, 40-minute outings, Grady's legs were gone. And
people
plus,
said Grady just as close to 30 as he is 20. Also, we got this dude's
yeah,
on 25 years old.
you got that going on. And when the lead guards were out and he's tasked with running the offense, that's a different animal because he's got to run the offense and get his own shot, and that's extremely difficult to do. And so, look, let's just get the elephant out of the room out of the way. Kentucky is not parting ways with Coach Cal. He's not leaving $40 million on the table. In Kentucky, for all the print money and all this kind of stuff, they're not giving him $40 million to go away. So we got to make this work. Let's just say that. But Coach Cal's got to do some soul searching.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is you got to have a plan B. And for my money, this year's plan A was fantastic. We saw it against Tennessee. We saw it against Kansas. We saw what it was when it was good. It was up 9 at Auburn. It was up whatever it was at LSU. This A game was fantastic. However, you got to have a B game. And I think in retrospect, it was a lot to ask the program to go from 9 wins to Final Four in one season. It was a lot. It was a lot. And folks could point to the last Billy G year. And then, you can do that if you bring in John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, and DeMarcus Cousins. But we didn't do that, right? We brought in some really good pieces. Don't get me wrong. Oscar Tshiebwe, he's a Naismith finalist and all that kind of stuff. But we did not bring in a dude of that caliber, right? And so I think it was a tough ask because there was no plan B. Now, I think Cal, the biggest complaint I would have is, number one, you've got to develop a bench. Whatever that we talked about, the Marcus Lee moment, right, against Wisconsin back in 2014, where he just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, all them dunks against Michigan. Yeah,
right, and it's like he had a bunch of coached his decision, did not play, and we didn't have that. And I thought that Bryce Hopkins and Damian Collins had earned the right to see the floor.
He said as much.
Yeah, especially a situation where, look, I love Grady, but we don't need this. Like we don't need one more where he started having that little hitch in his shot. Catch, make a move, and shoot a more difficult shot. Like that's tired legs. Anybody who's played basketball, pickup games or whatever, that's tired legs. Like you catch and shoot, like you've got to. Anyway, I thought the bench should have been developed a little bit more. That's on him. The second thing is, the team was tight. You could tell the team was tight. The last 5 or 6 games of the regular season headed into the postseason, this team was tight. And it's up to Cal to figure it. He kept saying, I got to get these guys loose. Yeah, you got to. I mean, that's and that's what struck me probably more than anything else is you have been here with dudes before. Like you have been with freshman-led teams, and you've got them to perform at high levels. Like you've been the freshman whisperer, right? And that's what struck me against St. Peter's is, again, using 2011 and 2014 as kind of that base. It took these teams a while to figure it out. And again, I'm looking from afar, right? I'm no psychologist. But this team this year looked tight Whereas if you go back and look at Brandon Knight against Princeton in the first round, didn't look tight. Like they didn't look tight at all. Today is the anniversary of Kentucky beating uh, uh, Wichita State in 2014, and they didn't look tight at all. And that was
No.
the undefeated Wichita State. Like they were playing free and loose and executing, and this team just didn't have it. And uh, I think Cal did a poor job of shielding this team from those outside voices and expectations.
The free and loose, when he said it, it was a recurring phrase. He said it on this next to last call-in show with Tom Leach. And it gets to a point where you wonder about the freeness and the looseness of the coach and the staff. Maybe you got to get yourself free and loose to have your guys free and loose. What is it in Remember the Titans? What does Julius say to Bertier? Attitude reflect leadership, Captain. And
Yeah.
so Cal, maybe you a little tight and you trying to get them free and loose, but they see, your tightness is kind of permeating the room. And we've seen this. This ain't the first time. We've seen this even in wins. We've talked about the game against Kansas in the title game, blowing them out, and then it gets a little interesting. And then MKG makes a play, Doron Lamb hits a three, but Cal kind of got tight in that game. So we've seen him at the end of games tense up
And
historically.
right. And I've kind of wrongly, I think, dismissed that because a lot of coaches do that, play close to the vest at the end. But Cal does it, and it's a complete 180 from what the team is doing.
That got you there. That got
It's a
you
complete
up
180,
20.
and it's as if they don't work on it at all. And so what happens is the point guard is getting instructions from Cal in real time, and it slows everything down. You think back to 2015 against Wisconsin,
No.
3 shot clock violations, and most of that is you get 30 seconds, and 15 of it is trying to communicate with Cal back and forth on what needs to happen.
No.
That can't happen. It shouldn't happen at this level. And so you're having this conversation with the point guard, which is what he did with Wheeler, particularly on that last play where Oscar's got to touch the ball. He's got to touch the ball. Like if we're going to overtime, if Oscar misses it, so be it. But it's the one thing that St. Peter's, it's the one thing that nobody else had an answer for was going to Oscar. Go to that. But if you're spending time like Wheeler was doing, because it makes your point guard unsure, and you've got dudes just standing,
Yeah.
not getting into their action for 10 to 15 seconds, everything slows down. And
That
now you're
sucks.
pressing, and now
That
you're
sucks.
pressing, because you're up against the clock.
That sucks in football when you see that everybody looking to the sideline. But at least you haven't snapped the ball yet when that happens. In basketball, we're mid play,
and you let the defense. The defense is set, and they know they only have to defend for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's a mental advantage, and so that has been my criticism, kind of my lone criticism of Cal since he's been here, is he does pull up too early.
Mm-hmm.
That to me has been the one thing. That, again, going back to 2015, you can look at some other games along the way. As you said, 2012 was the same way. We were blowing the doors off Kansas. Kansas had given up.
Yeah.
Kansas, they had that look in their eyes like most teams did that year of, all right, we're tired of doing this. I don't want to drive against Anthony Davis and all those guys.
And we'd already beat them early in the season, so they was getting a second dose of what they got from earlier.
Right. So I think this if I'm 800 miles away, it just looked like Cal felt the pressure of this year, and it got to the team. Once They peaked in, toward the end of January. You're coming off the Kansas game. You're looking really, really good. You're getting that conversation nationally. And of course, the pressure is on.
No.
And I think Cal did a terrible job of diffusing that. Now, when there's always outside pressure if you're Kentucky, right? And we infamously have the 78 championship team, the team with no joy, right? Like, that's not unheard of. But for my money, Cal just did a poor job managing this team at the end. You've got to find a way to lessen minutes. You've got to find a plan B, especially if we knew Ty is not going to be 100% the rest of the year. I think we all kind of said that when it wasn't Arkansas. What game at Tennessee where he tried to go and
Yeah.
couldn't go, and then it was going to be. Then you're checking the calendar and it's like, oh, okay, he's not going to be 100% as we move forward. Because, and let me get this. I want to get this correct. The difference that we had. Ty Washington before the Florida injury, 14.2 points per game, after 10.8. Before 4.2 rebounds a game, after 2.7. Before, this is huge, 4.6 assists a game, after 3.1. Before, 50% field goal percentage, after 36. Before, 40% from three, after 29% from three. That's the reason we didn't have a dude that could go create.
Mm-hmm. And he was, as much as he was that guy, he wasn't athletically superior like guys we've seen in the past. He's the only one that could do it, but he wasn't Fox with it. He wasn't Wall with it,
Yeah,
or he was kind of knightish with it, but he was the one that you go get a bucket. He was it, and then he got hampered and injured because you mentioned we probably didn't look at the signs. We kept thinking down the stretch, oh yeah, they'll get it back. They'll get it back. They'll get it back. You score 107 at home against Tennessee. You lose in Knoxville, and that was they always struggle and lose more than they win in Knoxville. That's been happening since Rupp and Dan Issel. Mashburn went down there and struggled. The 2012 team eked out a 3-point win in Knoxville. That happens. I was, for one, I didn't, tweet or nothing. I said, I can't wait to play Tennessee again in the tournament. Can't wait
oh
to get them
yeah,
on neutral court. It's
oh
going to be
yeah,
different. Yeah, they
yeah,
win in Knoxville, fine. We get them in Tampa, and it was a carbon copy of Knoxville. You scored 107, and then your next two games against them, you score, I think it's 125 combined. So
yeah.
you're averaging 62 and a half points a game. You get clamped again, can't throw it in the ocean again. So there was, they were leaking oil down the stretch, and we didn't really pay attention to it. And the caution light was on, the check engine light was on, and we are like, they'll floor it and punch it come tournament time, and it
And
just
yeah,
didn't happen.
and because and we've seen that before, but I think again, and this is looking back, the 2011 team showed flashes before the run in the tournament. Like there were things you could cling to, even going down the stretch, where you could say, okay, this team's kind of getting it. Even 2014, the last few regular season games,
Mm-hmm.
the close loss to Florida, you could say, okay, all right, this team, especially because you had Julius Randle, you had moments where it's like, okay, these guys are kind of getting it. But this team, and look, I talked myself into it too. I sat here a week ago, and you're looking at the brackets, and you're like, oh man, this is as good as it's ever going to get for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like this is literally as good as it's going to get. I mean, we saw, Baylor got bounced. I mean, this was going to be the bracket of all brackets, and then to lay this egg is frustrating. So with it being frustrating, uh, obviously every Kentucky fan is disappointed.
Yeah.
Nobody's enjoying the loss to the Peacocks. Peacock. Uh, and Cal's got to make some. He's got to make some changes, right? What we saw, anytime you have this kind of loss, it's unacceptable, right? That's just it. You have to reevaluate the same way he did after the 9-win season, right? So I think uh, what he's got to do a little bit more is that detailed game planning. Like we've got to see a change. Again, neither party is leaving. Cal ain't leaving Lexington, either by choice or force out. Like that's not going to happen. And I've seen a lot of folks with their who would you get to replace Cal? That's not happening. That's not happening. Because a lot of the names that were on the hot list at the beginning of the season, like a Nate Oates and a Chris Holtzman. So I would rather give Cal a rebuild than bring in somebody new, even if the money wasn't an issue, which it is.
And Cal clapped back too, as he should have, because he acts like he doesn't hear everything, but he hears everything. He heard all that stuff everybody was talking after 9-16. He heard everybody talking about Alabama and Nate Oates and all this. So you sweep them this year, and get revenge on them sweeping us last year. He made the line. They hit 9 threes at halftime, down by 1. They hit 18 when they've been down by 2. So he got his. He clapped back at Nate Oates, and because you're in 9-16, everybody's clowning you, and like you said, Plan A was great for most of this year, and you're back, and we're erasing a lot of those bad memories, only to have this St. Peter's loss bring it all back, and now you're getting clowned again. So you're kind of right back where you were, and having to go back to the drawing board. Which another question: where was Toppin at in the second half? You talk about Hopkins and Collins, we couldn't even get Toppin in the second half. So that was an issue too, in my opinion.
So yeah, absolutely. It was just a bizarre game to watch because it's like, what are we doing? It was completely trying to react to St. Peter's. You got to be the aggressor at some point.
Because like you said, it was a game at halftime, and that was a bad sign because they basically said we ain't going nowhere. We gonna be here, and Kentucky did not respond. We saw Gonzaga struggle for 30 minutes with Georgia State, but finally they went on a 40-10 run or whatever to make it look like they cruised all night, even though they didn't. We never got a knockout KO haymaker to let them know, okay, it's been fun playing with y'all. Now let's impose our will. It never happened. They like, here we are, what y'all gonna do? And we didn't handle it.
So we are in a very interesting stage for Kentucky basketball. It's a place the program has never been before. And what I mean by that is we have a coach who is a few years away from his peak, and we're all kind of stuck. Rupp was forced to retire. Joe B kind of, of course, Sutton left with all that stuff. Rick left before it completely fell down. He read the room in 97 like, look, I've sent 12, 13 dudes to the league. This 98 team ain't going to, this is the time to go, right? Tubby, he got 9-10 years removed from the title, checked the temperature and was like, gotta go. And of course, Billy G. Well, Now we're in a situation, again, Cal's not leaving. We ain't making him go. And the question is, can you get another peak? Can you get another run? And we've never had to deal with that. And that to me is a little bit fascinating. Can Cal do it? I don't know. I'd like to think so, but I at this stage, I don't know. So again, when we're talking, you have to be realistic. And to me, you can say the last few years have not been great for Kentucky basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lose the pandemic, 9-win season, lose to a 15 seed. That's not great. I think we can all admit that. That's not how we want to do things. However, I really think we're underselling how high that peak was at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, well, that was a long time ago. Oh, okay. And well, he can't live like by Kentucky standards, that peak was very, very high. 4 Final Fours in 5 years have been done by 3 coaches: John Wooden, Mike Krzyzewski, and Coach Cal. Like, it's ridiculous how high that peak was. And I really don't think we appreciate it because it's like we only got 1 title out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so another thing that we as Kentucky fans don't do is we don't recognize those great moments in real time. And what I mean by that is when you and I were in school, in high school, going to college, and they're about Joby Hall was just a dude. You're like, oh yeah, he won a 78 title, whatever. It was only in the last 10 years or so that Joby's back at games. He's getting that love that he never got as a coach, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that's on Cal. What happened on New Year's Eve this season? Finally, after 25 years, folks are starting to say, Tubby did that. That was a national championship. That was pretty darn good what he did. So it's 25 years later. We're like, thank you, Tubby. That was, you won a championship. That was pretty good. There wasn't no that 10-loss Tubby and all that kind of stuff. It was like, hey, you won us a championship. That's pretty darn good. So I have a feeling in 2050, 80-year-old Cal will come back and we'll be like, you know what? 2010 to 2015, that was pretty darn cool. 4 Final Fours in 5 seasons, that's pretty cool. We got 17 banners. You put 4 of them up there, that's pretty darn good. Right. And so we don't recognize it in real time. So, and to me, that's not quite the flex people think it is. Like we're just blah blah blah. We demand the best. Look, most of our seasons, the teams look like this one. Most of them. I tell people all the time. I see when you and I have talked about this endlessly. If I hear one more person say, "Well, we just need some dudes like we had in 2015 because them dudes cared," you tell me Tyler Eulis didn't care?
Yeah.
Tyler Eulis didn't care? That seems weird. SEC Player of the Year, Emmanuel Quickly, didn't care? He didn't want it enough? Is that why? The Fox Monk Bam team, they didn't care. The dudes was balling after what? Look, when you even by Kentucky standards, 2015 was ridiculous.
Yeah.
2012 was ridiculous. 2010 ridiculous. You're not going to have 3 or 4 NBA All-Stars on your team every year. It's not going to happen. Most of the time, we have a dude that is All-American level. We've got some All-Conference guys, and we've got a shot. Yeah. That's what most of Kentucky basketball is. The only saving grace is, outside of last year, we haven't had a lot of horrible seasons.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, you talk about that peak, Final Four in 11, 12, 14, 15, and now everybody fusses and hollers because it hasn't been a Final Four since 15. And that peak was ridiculous. That stretch was ridiculous. You won't trade that for anything, but would Cal be better served if he had staggered them out? Say you don't make it in 11. Say you Elite 8 in 10 first year. Say Elite 8 and 11. You win it all in 12. 13 was what it was. Say you don't go in 11 and push that one back to, say, the 17 team makes it instead of 11. So then you have 12 Final Four title. The 14 one, and then you got 15. So those first couple, say you put them to the back and stagger this out a little bit. Are we having this conversation? Everybody still up in arms because you had them all bunched up? in that first 5 or 6 years, or say you spread them out and you go every 2 or 3 and you still got the same amount of production, are we still, is everybody still as bent out of shape as they are now?
Yeah, because that's absolutely a valid point, because you have to be realistic. You go 4 Final Fours in 5 years. Is it reasonable to assume you're going to go to 8 and 10? I don't think that's reasonable.
Mm-mm.
There was going to be a drop off. That's just the way these things work.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does. That's why UCLA's run is so up
Yeah.
there, because it doesn't happen. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, the winds change. The whatever your mojo changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it works. You know, Duke has had, they've had runs and they've dipped. Like it just, there was nowhere to go but down. Because
Tom Izzo's title is a grown adult now. That thing happened when I got married, 2000 or 2001.
they
And
won 2000, yeah.
yeah, so that thing is 22 years old. And I think he has more 10-loss seasons than Tubby. And
Yeah.
he had more than Tubby a while back.
Yeah.
And you got a title drought that's 2 decades old. They won, Magic won in 79, then they win again in 2000, and now here we are. Tom Izzo's still up there just doing what he does. And he's, Tom Izzo will work his magic and get a team to the Final Four. He ain't won a title in 22 years.
Because titles are hard to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, when you start looking at, okay, who's won multiple championships, that's a short list. It's a short list on multiple championship winners.
Keith Smart. If it wasn't for Keith Smart, we look at Boeheim different. He'd have two.
He'd have two. Yeah, right. And I think if Kentucky was able to seal the deal in either 14 or 15, I think we're having a different conversation. That honestly, I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Because either one of those two gives you a great story, right?
Yeah.
The 14 team that
couldn't buy a win on the road all season.
And Aaron Harrison, his quote, we would have Tim Tebowed that outside of Rupp Arena in the Kraft Center. We were able to close that. That's a storybook run.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to follow it up with an undefeated season, you close both in that 9-16. We are laughing about it. Like, that's just the universe coming to, if you're able to seal one or both, but if it was both, wow, we're having a really different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this notion of, all the talent, all the everything, I keep saying to folks, look at every great coach in any sport, and you'll have a team that you're like, how did that team not win a championship? Particularly in the leagues where it's just one and done. There's lots of NFL teams like, how the hell that team not win? The Patriots that year, the Vikings in '98. I'm sure
that
that
pulled for him. When you're pulled for him to go, I wanted to see him go 19-0. That was the 1 year I pulled for him. That way he could shut the 72 Dolphins up.
Yeah,
I was sick and tired of Mercury Morris and them. And here come Plaxico and Eli.
right. And I'm sure, you and I have seen a lot of 49ers and Cowboys championships, but there's still some teams I'm like, how did that team not win? I can't remember the year off my top of my head. There was one year, Niners went 14-2. Joe Montana was rolling. Rice was rolling. And I want to say that the Giants got them out of the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
It was Super Bowl 20. It was the Super Bowl 25. It was when the Giants won Super Bowl 25, because the Niners had won back to back. They had destroyed the Broncos in Super Bowl 24, 55-10.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
I hate the Niners, but that was still fun seeing Elway get drilled like that.
So, and they're rolling the next year, and they lose 16-12 or something like that. It was just a bunch of field goals in the FC
Yeah,
Championship game.
yeah,
Just
and that was that Candlestick too. Y'all
it
was at
was
home.
at Candlestick. Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm.
So my point
Somebody
is
somebody sacked Montana and about broke him though. Was it Leonard Marshall? Somebody
Leonard Marshall.
it
Leonard
like
Marshall did. Yeah,
I mean, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I mean to bring it, but like poor Joe. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
whew.
So Roy Williams came out talked about his '97 Kansas team, like the
Mm,
biggest regret of his coaching career. Every coach has them.
mhm.
This isn't an anomaly to Kentucky or to Coach Cal. You can go back and look at. I mean, I know Dean Smith is Dean Smith, but you want to talk about a dude had a lot of talent come through there.
And
You know,
both of his is fluky. Both of his titles
and both
are
and
fluky.
and both of his titles are like, how often are you going to have somebody pass to the wrong person
Yeah,
and Chris Webber call that timeout? Like,
I mean,
but I mean, think about it. I, he had Michael Jordan, okay, and he had two or three other NBA dudes with
yeah,
Michael Jordan and didn't
Worthy,
get back to the
Sam
Final Four.
Perkins, Sam
Yes,
Perkins, Worthy,
Kenny Smith, like,
loaded.
you know, it happens. It's one of those things where just one night and
Carter
that's all
and,
she wrote.
and Carter and Jameson, Stack and Wallace. I mean, neither one of them made the Final Four, did they?
The one
What's the
year
95 did they
it was
make it?
they made it in '95 because they beat us, but in '94,
Didn't win no title though.
right? In '94, what happened? North Carolina wins in '93,
Yeah.
right? The Chris Webber game.
Mm,
'94, like I want to say they just lost maybe like Donald Williams or something like that. But you know who the freshmen were Stackhouse and Wallace.
mhm.
They added that to a national championship team and lost to Boston College in the second round.
Yo.
Weird things happen, right? Uh, but next season is going to be critical. Is it going to be? And I hate to. It's not championship or bust. I don't live that way.
Mhm.
But if Cal, this can again, the money is going to make this kind of awkward. We're going to figure out, can Cal do it again? Can we get back? Uh, or is this going to be one of those weird lame duck situations where nobody wants to pull the trigger because the money's too big?
And another thing I don't know, kind of looked past or minimized. How we having blow ups with Chin Coleman like every other game? I mean, every single time. Every time you look up, he's biting the dude's head off, or some kind of exchanging, some kind of back and forth, some kind of intense dialogue. Every time it happened again against St. Peter's, it happened several times. The first time it happened, we were watching Katie. My Katie was like, "Oh, Cal just jumped down his throat." Ooh, and I didn't even see it, and then went back and watched it. It happened all season long.
I honestly think the pressure got to Cal
Yeah.
because looking at Cal's track record, right? He's a Hall of Fame coach, obviously, but at UMass, that's UMass, right? Like that's UMass. Uh,
You just
there ain't no
you just trying
pressure at
not to
UMass.
just trying not to take a beat from John Chaney. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, and
I'll kill you.
and this is going to be a first, not just for Kentucky, but for Cal. He ain't had to try to recapture magic because when he got UMass to their point, he's like, I'm out.
Yo.
And then Memphis, once he got them rolling, out.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first time I think the last month of this season where it's like the pressure's on, and I
And
love Memphis because Mama B, and I'm sure people at UMass are nice, but this is different.
mm-hmm.
This is different because I think that, and again, we're just doing this from the sidelines. Kyle's like, look, we got Oscar. we're doing this kind of stuff. We're doing that. We beat Kansas pretty good, and a lot of Kentucky fans are like, that's nice, but
Nope.
I think the expectation was at some point that 9-win season would be in the rearview mirror, but that's not how it works. And I honestly I think the stress, the pressure got to him. That's just my belief, just from blow because he didn't blow up during the 2013 season.
Right.
He didn't blow up when we were having knucklehead plays. Like what's going on? So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see how this goes moving forward. The biggest, I think, concern, other than what we do in our own house, is Kenny Payne to Louisville.
Yep.
Kenny Payne to Louisville is a game changer. I tried to explain this to on the Spaces last night.
Speaking of, first of all, how was the Spaces Thursday after the game? Wasn't no way I was getting into that one. And then how was the one last night, the regularly scheduled one, which I think I crashed out because I had to be at work early. I wasn't able to hang. But the one right after the game, I saw that. I was like, I ain't getting in that.
It wasn't that bad.
That's good.
Most people were just kind of like, man, this stinks. But it wasn't. The people that showed up weren't weren't that bad. That
Yeah.
was pretty. It was pretty
Oh,
good for us to all kind of be like, what
yeah.
just happened?
Yeah.
It was that
Mhm.
weird, like, man, what just happened?
Trying to wrap your head around it. Like I just called my sister because we were talking about what Dad would have been saying. So that's what we were doing after the ball
Yeah.
because if he hadn't have gone, which he went to a lot of Final Fours, but we'd have been on the phone having the Spaces just on the phone like y'all were. So yeah.
Yeah. So that was good. But look, my house, we threw at basketball. Because earlier Thursday, Iowa lost to
Yeah.
Richmond in a very similar fashion. They just couldn't get it going.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan Murray did his thing, but the rest of Iowa's roster just it was eerily similar. Adam Jacoby, who we've had on the show, we went out Friday. We grabbed some lunch to lick our wounds. The
Yeah.
games were very similar. It's like, okay, this double seeded team, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're here to play, okay, and you're waiting for your team to pull away,
Yep.
and it's not happening. And Iowa went on an 11-0 run to go up 6 with like 5 or 6 minutes left. Richmond calls a timeout. They come right back and tie it up, and you're like, okay, this is
Yeah.
like, when Grady finally hit that 3 to give Kentucky a lead. And that's another thing that Cal's got to fix. Hoops Insight, Sean Vinsel, talking
Yeah.
about, this team, how bad they were in the last 5 minutes of games.
Yeah.
That and I'm like, oh yeah, we were up in some of those games that we lost. If you're up 5 or 6 points with 3 minutes left, you got to win.
Mm-hmm.
You got to win. So that's something he's got to work on, and he's got to go into next season knowing, I love Swaggy Cal, but ain't nobody gonna be here for it, right?
Exactly. Like
He's got to comport himself differently. We can't be basketball bennies. We're not here for that, right? It
and
can't be, I ain't seen him. You need to see somebody if he's hurt.
that's
Nobody's here for that.
mm-hmm. It's all run out. And like you said, we the timeouts, and that's been analytics. There's been analytics on that. Do you call it? Do you not? The like you said, all the catchphrases, all the stuff, because we're right back to what you gonna do, man.
Yeah.
What in another great regular season, go 20, go 9-2 next year, and we all gonna be waiting. You know what? Some
Well,
will be about tournament, but what you gonna do come tournament time again? That's what it's all pointing to again.
well, to alleviate that, they've got to bring some top teams to Rupp Arena.
Mm.
That checks one box. We just saw they're getting rid of the checkerboard. That checks another
Yes.
box.
For those that's been, you know, upset, they finally got their wish. It didn't
Well,
matter to me, but yes,
but yeah, it didn't matter to me either. You see, I mean,
yeah.
I'm going to rock whatever.
I saw you tweet. I rock them all.
Well, and look, and a lot of folks pushed back. I just said if we had been to a Final Four, if Luke's made shot does not go in, if we're able to pull out that overtime against Auburn, we're not getting all this chatter about the uniforms
Mm-hmm.
because you and I remember from 93 to 98, we was all over the map with them, except we
Yeah.
went to 4 Final Fours in 6 years with 2 titles and a runner-up. And so there's nothing to say. Like you can't be talking about uniforms if your team is really, really good. And
Mm-hmm.
people push back, well, I've never liked them. Okay, that's great. I mean, I wasn't about the icicles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Whatever. Uh, but I do think that has something to do with it. Me
It's
personally.
it's it's kind of like down here, what Tennessee won in '98, and then former state another 8-10 years, and you talk about recapturing, trying to get it back. It got to the point, you go 9-3 or 10-2 or 8-4. They wasn't trying to hear it. He come into press conferences working like heck. After a loss, we're working like heck. Got to look at the film. That drove everybody crazy because it ain't 98 no more. It's been 7 years since you won that championship. And so all of that, all the little mannerisms, all the little wordisms, the calisms are getting on everybody's nerve. The tweak, I haven't seen them. The I was wrong one time, I think it was 1978. All that stuff is just kind of it's falling on deaf ears now because
Yeah, absolutely.
2012 been 10 years ago. Same thing. It's similar to old Fulmer down here.
And I said this during the spaces. The frustrating thing for me when we look at the loss against St. Peter's and a lot of these tournament losses, we're losing to teams and they're not playing fantastic games. And what I mean by that is I look back to '03, one of my favorite Kentucky teams ever. That team was great. You go to the Elite Eight, you lose to Marquette, but Dwayne freaking Wade goes for a almost quadruple double. Look, if that's what you got, I tip my hat because I hate losing when it's fluky, when some no name guy, but it's Dwayne, top 75, NBA stud, Dwayne Wade decides to go for a triple double. Okay, all right, you know what? I still say if Bogans is healthy, we still pull that off. But okay, I can live with that. But walk me through this. You look at West Virginia, they just played a 1-3-1 zone. And none of their dudes went berserk, right? 2011, I mean Kemba Walker, but that was a rock fight. That was what 50-49, something like that. That's a rock fight. 2014, I didn't think that Connecticut team did anything too wild and crazy, but I too put an asterisk on 2014. Those dudes gave us everything they had. By that point, they had played in 4 straight, count the championship game, 5 straight high pressured games and gave us everything they had. I give the 2014 team a pass because of that. But 2016, uh, Indiana just played ball. Like there wasn't, what's the tiny little point? I can't remember the tiny little point guard's name they had. It's not like he went berserk. Indiana just played well. Okay, 2017, North Carolina wasn't
Was,
fantastic.
was it Yogi Indiana had?
Yogi Ferrell,
Yeah.
yeah. But a last second shot, and we had beaten them earlier in the year. So okay, 2018 against Kansas freaking State, like again, they didn't do anything that I was like, wow, this dude done gone for 30 points on us. It was just we didn't take care of our business.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, it's becoming a trend, and that to me is unacceptable. 2019, losing to Auburn. Uh, yeah, I know it went to overtime, but we got to figure that out. Like we've got to figure that out. And so you compile that with this year against St. Peter's, who I think they played better than their numbers. Because I think Ken Palm didn't have them rated that high. I mean, they were 15 seed.
Changing the way you listen to podcasts.
But uh, but but they didn't do anything wild and exotic. So that's my frustration. Again, if you lose to Dwayne Wade going for a triple double, there's not a whole lot you can do. But we're not losing to those teams. So it's a little bit it's frustrating. Now, what I was alluding to earlier, what I do think will be different, uh, if Cal can rebuild this, it's Louisville hiring Kenny Payne. And Louisville's got a coach that everybody loves, which is different for them because nobody really liked Chris Mack and nobody really liked Patino that much. They got a dude that everybody likes, a dude that's connected. And as I was trying to warn folks on the spaces last night,
Mm-hmm.
the good fans, the good Louisville fans, of which there are a whole bunch, that are tired of this foolishness, they rallied around Kenny Payne. Like, I don't know if you saw his introductory press conference. They had dudes going back decades, players, and Denny Crum was there, and he has rallied the troops like nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So I know part of me is like, well, you look at some of these other programs that hired great players. This is different. I trying to explain to Kentucky fans like, oh, this is little brother. Like, ignore them at your own peril. Tina Cox came onto the spaces and basically said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting how he fills out his staff,
Yo.
and we know how he is recruited.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a situation where my hope that Kenny Payne going to Louisville was like Cal going to Lexington for them for Patino. Because Patino had kind of rested back on his laurels, especially in the rivalry going against Billy G. He's like, I ain't got to beat this dude. But then Cal shows up, steals all the shine, and Louisville builds back up to Final Four championship level team. So I'm hoping that rivalry is able to reinfuse both sides. Because
Mm-hmm.
if there's one thing I know about Kentucky fans, we're not going to be second to Louisville in anything.
No.
And so if it's a situation where Kenny Payne hits the ground running and Cal's out here, I ain't seen him, da 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 da, then the next legislative session, we're going to add a penny gas tax to get rid of Coach Cal. People be like, let me open up my checkbook. Like, it's a gots to go situation. So I hope that is going to be enough to nudge Cal. Because look, he's a great coach. That's unassailable. But again, something's got to change because this ain't it. This ain't it. And I was reasonable as the next fan, probably
Yeah.
leaning more toward being a pro Cal guy. But
Mm-hmm.
this ain't it. He's got to change his approach. I've never been one of those fans. He's got to humble himself. Like, he ain't got to humble himself for you. Okay, calm it down. You're not Caesar. Calm it down. But like I said, he can't come to us with this same stuff he's been doing.
Yo.
I ain't seen him. You don't know what I know. No, okay, all right. For what you are being paid, you can check some of these boxes. You can get
Mm-hmm.
back to that gritty hustling Cal.
And that gets us back to the timeout, which I think he told Tom Leach, I like to have them available when I need them. Like, okay, well, how out of sorts do we have to be before you feel the need to call one, since you have one, because you want to have one if you need it?
Yes, I've been back and forth with, do you call a timeout in similar situations? Cal never does, and that is something he's going to have to reevaluate, because again, like I said, an hour ago, you can't be out there barking orders at your point guard as the clock's running down.
Mm-hmm.
He's paying attention to you. The defense is, you allow these dudes to catch their breath. It's not like they're, it's a miss, it's a make, it's whatever, and Severe's coming down, and it's all instinct.
Right.
That, when it's that, don't call it.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in your guys that they can go get it. But if they come and it's
right,
call the timeout.
Yep.
Call it.
You essentially called one on the court without bringing everybody to the huddle.
Everybody stops. And, the biggest issue is with that is, especially against St. Peter's, if you're running down the floor with Oscar the way he runs, he's going to beat his man down court. So it's a situation where you might end up with a guard on Oscar, and the defense has got to scramble. But if you got to stop it, well, now you let them get what they want to get.
Switch and get back, and everybody.
Yeah, you letting them do all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, again,
doing them a favor.
Right. I don't want Coach Cal humble, but he can't do this. Like, I as I said earlier, again, that 2010 to 15 run, fantastic. That's great. It's a higher peak than we give him credit for.
Yep.
However, it has been 10 years. Like, you got to do something to wash this taste out of our mouth. Mm-hmm. Even if we're all stuck with each other, we got to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am on that.
Now the call-in show, which I listen to most of them, throughout the season. Same thing with Stoops, and because we're not, covering games like we did. Matter of fact, I even called in to both of them. I called in to Cal, and I called in second, third game of the season. I had some kind of question for Stoops and got through and asked them both. But for the most part, he's been there with Tom at Malone's or wherever. I think there was a couple times they've been in studio, but he's been there taking calls. And I know you got to get out and recruit when the season ends, and that's tradition. Every coach does it. Everybody hits the road. I think Stoops is even called from the road.
Yeah.
In between. So to then have this one of all shows be pre-recorded. I know they hit a lot of topics and did a lot of this and a lot of that, but to have this one be pre-recorded, it just gave me the feel that you trying to duck it when we all out here taking our medicine and getting our he ha ha ha's from everybody. Oh, what happened to y'all? Oh, and you go pre-record one just because that kind of. I like Cal. I ain't had no problem with Cal, but that hit me. I mean, the loss shocked you, stunned you, ticked you off. But then, you ain't doing a call-in show. What you ain't missed one all year? Why you ain't gonna now you gonna record one? Yeah, that hit me a little wrong.
It did me as well, and to me it wasn't the biggest of deals. Like, it's not something, but yeah, you got to sit there and take some calls.
It's like you said. It's like you said. There ain't nothing he can say. Ain't nothing he can say to change how you feel. I feel the most irrational fan feel. The most level-headed fan feel. Nothing he can say. But just sit there and just take it with us. Just sit here and bathe in this misery with us for an hour.
You have to give the performance of "I'm here with you," and that's what a good leader does. Like, not to get political, but a master person at that was Bill Clinton. Wherever he went, people people talk like they believed he felt what they were feeling, and that's what Cal's got to do. Do I want him out there recruiting? Yes. Do I want him in the off season? Basically, like extreme home makeovers, take everything down to the studs. Yes. You can give us an hour. You can
Yeah.
you and people are like, well, you want people just to cut. That is not. Listen, listen. I had to go back on a few people. Like, look, my mother's an English teacher. I choose my words very carefully. I said he's got to take some heat. I did not say he had to take any abuse. I've
Right.
never said that. He doesn't have
Right.
to sit there and be the filth. Like, no, 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 no. That is not what I'm saying for people to go Sam Jackson on it. That's not what I
Mhm.
said. What
Right.
I'm saying is he's got to sit there and if a fan, just John Q fans, got a question, hey, about the timeout, you at least have to give that appearance of I hear you
Yeah.
and I'm going to explain my question. Now, the answer, I think it's absolutely true, may not sway anybody, but the act of him sitting there doing it,
Mm-hmm.
I think would have sent volumes. Now, would have said volumes. People, well, he's not answerable to us. He's answerable, to the big time donors. He has got to connect with the folks that save up year round to go to the SEC tournament. He's got to connect with the folks from Paducah all the way to Harlan County that only get to Rupp every year or two. He's got to connect with those folks because, on the Twitter streets and on the regular streets, the craft people, they ain't hobnobbing with other fans like we are, right? If he wants to have an easier go of it, he's got to win over the regular fans. Now, again, I'm not saying he's got to kowtow, he's got to walk some kind of line, but he got to make a connection to the regular fans. And I don't get into a whole lot of how much Cal makes, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But some people do.
Yeah.
And if you want to nip that in the bud, like, oh, he got his money, he don't care. You got to extend that and make people believe that you care.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like you said, it's been 10 years, but when they won a title, to their credit, what did they do? Took it all around the state. Took it to Hazard, took it to Murray, took it to Louisville, took it to Lexington, took it to Ashland, every corner of Kentucky, got on a bus and took that. Oh, the lime, the lemon lime. Yes,
Lemon
indeed.
lime, baby.
Thank you, Gatorade. And we didn't even do an intro. We jumped right in, but you can watch us on Roku. You can watch Terry drink that lemon lime Gatorade. Thank you, Gatorade. On Roku, type BS3 TV in the search. And of course, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Rocking the BS3. Thank you, Ben Sutters III, for this opportunity for us to be part of the network. We ain't do none of our introductory stuff. We just jump right into the lost.
We, we had to get to the pain of everything. So
Yeah, but my dad and sister, I don't know, was it Middlesboro, Hazard? They went and got their picture with Al and the trophy on the tour. So that's what you do to connect with the fans. You win the title. You don't just hang the banner and I'm out. You went all over the state, letting everybody see it. Um, I don't usually compare Cal and Stoops a lot, but we both it ain't like like you said, it wasn't that big a deal, but just give the impression that you are hurting, which they did a lot of it, but at least take a call live. You done it all year long. Finish out
mm-hmm.
the last call-in show like you did all the rest of them. To Stoops' credit, after they lose, he'll be sitting there with Tom Leach, and the caller will be frustrated, not really insanely irate. There's been times Tom's trying to jump in and appreciate the call and hang up. Thanks for calling, Terry, from Louisville. We appreciate it. And Stoops will say, no, 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 let him finish. This is a valid criticism. He'll stop Tom from jumping in to kind of play buffer to let the dude get whatever's on his chest off of his chest. And Stoops will take it. That's a valid criticism, blah, blah, blah. And he's not too good. He's not thin-skinned. You pissed off at me for not blitzing on 3rd and 17 and they picked up a first down, and you can call and say it. Tom, don't hang up on him. Let him talk. He's done that multiple times.
And that's the thing too is with Cal, on top of the basketball bennies and all this kind of stuff, it was just a bad look. Like, I think his answers that he gave were satisfactory.
Yeah.
But again, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You got to sit there and you got to take it. And with the COVID situation, they haven't been able to be out and about in the state. I think that would be something I would look at doing this summer. Some satellite cams, some whatever. Because you're not gonna have a lot of wackos come up to your face with that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you are gonna have people voice some concerns, and I think that you gotta address those.
Yeah, just can't turn a deaf ear to it. Just. And he said that too when things were going good. What did he say? If I listen to all these opinions, I'll be sitting on the bench with you or whatever. There's 4 million coaches. He said little stuff like that, back when they were winning and beating Kansas and all that. But just don't be.
And it works when you win it.
Yeah, yeah. You say don't humble yourself, but in that situation, maybe just check the temperature before you just go popping off and coming across as flippant or thumbing
Right.
your nose down there.
That's the thing. Yeah, you gotta, again, going back to, politicians, I think are good at this. I feel your pain. And most time after you talk to them and they leave the room, whatever. But in that moment, they give that to you. Again, not to get too political, but that's part of it. And I think Cal's got to get back to that. He hit the ground running in 2010. Well, you got to, it's like any good relationship, you still got to put work in.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you've been married 20 years. You can't just be like, well, I proposed to you that that should cover it all. No, you got to put the work in. Whatever relationship is, you can't go to work and be like, look, back in 2015, I was an exemplary employee. They're like, okay, that's great, but you gotta put that work in, whether it's with your kids, with your spouse, with whoever. And if you're in a position like Cal is, you got to put that work in with the team, with the community.
And sometimes in that marriage, in that father-children relationship, you might think you're putting in work and you're not. And then you gotta, okay, let me recalibrate and get back to where it was, because you be done slipped and you don't realize it, or you think you're doing all out and you're going through the motions and I'm not doing what Cal got to evaluate. We have to do the same thing, but we're just wondering, and Cal says he evaluates every year. He said evaluate after 2012. What's he gonna do when he does his evaluation? The reaction or the actions after your evaluation is that's what we're waiting on.
What's your action plan? And look, you gotta, I get what Cal, he's defensive because this team was a really good team. It was a fun team. I'm not going to be one of these folks to say it was a terrible team. This was a chore to follow this team. No, I enjoyed it. Kansas was fun.
I'm going to go back and watch Kansas and Tennessee and North Carolina and the 2 Alabama wins. I'll go back. You get away from this pain. You can go back and watch all of those games.
But Vinny, I've never used drugs because my dad had a just say no moment with me. Never used drugs before in my life. I can't imagine a drug more powerful than walking out of Allen Fieldhouse with a Kentucky shirt on after that. Like, I can't think, for me personally, I'm like this. I'm George Jefferson. Look, man. Like that, and I don't know if you saw me have a tweet exchange with Oscar Combs because he had tweeted out that this season something about it being forgettable. And I said, all due respect, Mr. Combs, it's not forgettable. Like Oscar Shibwe is probably going to be the National Player of the Year. That's not forgettable.
No.
And it's and that's one of those things. It takes a little bit of nuance. You can be upset, but you still got to be honest. You still got to, I don't want to live in a world where we just throw this whole season away.
No.
And what Oscar was doing, not only in Kentucky but nationally, hasn't been done in 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like we can acknowledge that. I've come to grips with folks that pretend that Aaron Harrison's 3-pointers not that big a deal. I've come to grips with that, right? I've come to grips with the folks that 2011, it was okay. Hey, Brandon Knight died in Aircraft's eye. That brings great joy.
Yo.
The only one of these things that doesn't sit well with me is the people that haven't cared as much since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you say it out loud, my team didn't finish undefeated, and so I stopped caring. With Tyreek Hill getting traded, the NFL account tweeted out that 3rd and 20 catch he had against the Niners in the Super Bowl when they were up 10 with 6 minutes left. But as a 49ers fan, and I'm like, man, how are you going to be up 10 with 6 minutes left and lose by 2 scores? How does that happen? Did I give up? Nope. I just said, well, let's go again, Jimmy G. But that's what sports is about. Sometimes your team loses, and you just have to, okay. I think Kentucky fans need to understand. And again, talking to the missus, she's outside of Kentucky fandom, but on the outside looking in, she's like, a lot of your fans are jerks. A lot of people take glee when you lose. I mean, honestly, I think that's part of the equation. She said, y'all are Yankees fans. And a lot of baseball folks in the space said, we are. Nobody gonna feel sorry for us because we lost. Like people enjoy our downfall, but eventually we'll come back around. Look, you have to be honest with who you support. Vinny, I've told you this before. You've been trying to needle me about the Lakers and their piss poor season. You've been trying to get me on it, but I'm like, look, I'm as a Lakers fan. I'm 44, 11 championships in my 44 years. I'm gonna be okay. But by the same token, I got to understand that when the Lakers stink like they do this year, I'm gonna hear it from everybody. Like it's coming. You got to roll with it, baby. The decade they were terrible, I had to hear about it. Then they won a championship, I ain't have to hear about it. Now they're terrible, hear about it again. And when people start pushing, like I've told you, I'm like, I'm gonna reflect on the Lakers championships. Which one should I reflect on?
Yes, right.
The ones with Shaq and Kobe? No, because I was an older adult then. What about Magic and Kareem when I was a kid? I was married, had the girls. What about Kobe and Powell? But boy, that bubble championship, as as a Lakers fan, I can do that. And really, as a Kentucky fan, you can do that too. Because I said this and people got in their feelings. I know St. Peter sucks. It's a terrible moment. But boy, we got so many other moments, not even championship moments, from the Aaron Harrison shot to Tayshaun going for 41 against Tulsa to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we're still ahead. If you're a Kentucky fan, we're still coming out ahead.
That's true.
Even with this loss.
Yeah. I say it all the time. Half of Kentucky's championships have happened in my lifetime. Now, in '78, I was like 3 months old, but I was alive for that. I don't remember it, but I've seen my parents' shirts, I've seen the championship shirts, I've seen pictures and all that. And then the three that was old, 96, 98, 2012, old enough to remember. And you're a teenager, you're a young adult, and then you're mid 30s with a kid and one on the way. So, I'm spoiled. There's teams, schools out here, fans of schools, of teams that have never even been to a Final Four, Tennessee, among others, and
Yeah.
never won a national
Let,
championship.
let's talk about
And
Tennessee.
so, how much better did I feel on Saturday when Jawan and them put them out? When Plavich was getting abused by Hunter Dickinson. That made me feel a lot better. That
Tennessee, and I texted you when this went down because I took a picture of my tractor trailer Michigan jersey. I always got something to go pull from the closet in moments just like this. Tennessee, they had a great run in the late 70s with Ernie and Bernie and Ray Mears. And I told your story in the spaces about how you went and they were honoring Coach Mears and those teams, only to look up. Their claim to fame was 500 against Kentucky and an SEC, maybe an SEC regular season title and a tournament title, something
right.
like that. That
Yeah.
was their peak.
Mm-hmm.
And you flash forward to the last 4 or 5 years, a great, great run. They've bested Kentucky by a couple of games, whatever it is, 6-4, 6-7-5, whatever it is. And they got a regular season title and a tournament title.
Yep.
That's poverty. That's poverty. Like I don't know else to, because and somebody was talking about Gonzaga and how Gonzaga has become the new Duke as far as they do it the right way and blah 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 blah, and their great run. And look, they've been to 5 or 6 straight Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, title game, one Final Four, two title games.
Yeah.
That's not a very good peak. That's not a very good peak. When you look at, okay, if you assume UCLA in their peak, which will never be matched, but you look when Duke was at its best, 3 straight title games, back-to-back championships. You look at Kentucky, you got the 4 Final Fours in 5 years. You got the late 90s run. Like, that's a peak. You look at North Carolina, like,
Yeah.
okay, Gonzaga, basically they did what Butler did. You remember Butler?
Yeah.
With 2 title game losses? Butler.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if Gonzaga will win it or not. I openly root against Gonzaga
Yep.
for a lot of reasons.
Memphis had them too. Ooh.
Memphis got in a lot of foul trouble, and Amani Bates trying to play 30 minutes after he ain't played more than 12 in a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It just
blew up.
Memphis was one more big away from winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
One more big.
Yep.
So Penny has turned that ship around.
Mm-hmm. Sure
getting them to the tournament, winning a game, and giving Gonzaga a really good game until the very end.
Nope.
Penny's turned that around. He's got, Mama B. I talked to her. She's excited. She wants to put on her Memphis State shirt and go.
Yep.
Yeah, she talked about the Larry Fitch days and everything. She's taking it way back.
Penny connecting with her. Penny done connected with her.
Oh man, and that's the thing. Hey, look, I think that I really do think Kenny Payne is going to be more Penny than Patrick Ewing.
Mm.
That's just me.
Did Butch Beard come back now too?
I think he was there.
Whoa!
I think.
Wow.
I need to ask, but I mean, they had like 40 dudes or whatever. But just looking around the tournament, like Tennessee, I can't take you serious. And really, the SEC, we all crap the bed. Like it's just Arkansas standing in the postseason. We all look bad, but I had no faith in Auburn. Guard play
No,
was too spotty.
they peaked too
Um,
soon. They started struggling as soon as they got number one in the country. Barely beat Missouri and losing to I don't know, Georgia or whoever. Terrible
yeah,
team.
one of those kind of things.
They
Uh,
peaked way too soon.
Florida looked bad. Did Florida play? Am I making that up?
No, no. But how you gonna? How you gonna? As Georgia, how you hire Mike White from Florida when he
The
ain't done much of nothing?
the
I'm sure it's an upgrade over Crean. I guess they looking at it that way, but
Mike
that's so
White.
weird.
I mean, he was going to go in this season at Florida, do or die,
Yeah,
which is a terrible way to live life on the
well, he
hot
just
seat.
he just dipped before the writing hit the wall. I guess.
Yeah, he did for the pies he got to town, and
Hmm.
he looked around like Georgia's is about as good as it's going to get. Look where they are. I can do
Yeah,
better than that.
you
You
win
know,
two games in the SEC. You've already done better.
yeah. So that's crazy. But the SEC uh, down, uh, and,
Yeah.
and that's crazy because we all thought the SEC was good.
Phil Page was because I tried to tweet or something like Arkansas is the only one left after a pretty good year in the league because Kentucky goes to Kansas and did what they did. They destroyed North Carolina. Tennessee beat Arizona. Now it was in Knoxville, but that's a win for the SEC when they beat
Yeah,
Arizona. So you had a lot of stuff. Conference did some stuff in basketball, and then what? Everybody but Arkansas is gone, and Phil Page, the photographer, we've had him on the
yeah.
show.
Oh yeah, I
He's
love Phil.
like, was the conference overhyped or was it? And I was like, maybe it's a little bit of both. I said because it was good, but everybody's looking at us now like we overhyped because you flaming out in the tournament like this. So it
The
is,
complete opposite of what we see in football season, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, we talk up during football, then we go 9-3 in bowl games, win a championship, and then basketball we try to talk it up, and look at all the turnover
hmm,
as far as head coaches. You talk about Mike White leaving, Will
yeah,
Wade finally got. Look, man, look. Uh, I think there's a little confusion on NIL and what Will Wade was doing.
yeah.
Like, I think that NIL, because some of my Louisville brothers and sisters, like, well, NIL, what we did is different. It's different. Like, come on, it's different.
Hmm.
Bags of cash that ain't never gonna fly
Yo,
in this day and age. So Will Wade finally gone. Frank Martin was a little bit
Frank.
of a surprise because
Hmm.
I thought he kind of had uh, South Carolina on lock, but again, it's one of those "what have you done for me lately"
But
kind of
he
situation.
took y'all to a Final Four. He took y'all to a final. I know it was 27. He been to a Final Four what recently in Kentucky. So,
Yeah,
I mean, he been to one more recently than Cal. So I mean,
yeah. So
if we being real honest, we keeping it real.
yeah, and so, but this is typically if you look at most tournaments, this is what the SEC does. If it ain't Kentucky, and bloop, Arkansas, bloop, Florida.
Mhm.
If it ain't Kentucky, it's a lot of teams going out early.
Yeah.
You can just the writing's on the wall with that. That's why Arkansas hadn't been to an Elite Eight in 30 years, till last year, and look at all
Mhm.
these other teams. And so if it's not Kentucky, it's not. But I love like I texted you, Tennessee losing. Look, it takes a little bit of the edge off Kentucky losing
Yep.
because teams that we beat, teams we put out, they love talking trash about Kentucky. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I realize it's pretty fun. When your team loses, even if it's embarrassing, you can still bring out that haterade and be like, look at Tennessee.
Yep.
Even Drake been to a Final Four right up the street here.
That's why I put out the little "we're all Wolverines" right now because that was in response to a buddy on Facebook. He lives here in Knoxville. uh, Brock Webster. We met on the Twitter streets. We've called in the same call-in shows. Back before we had this, I would listen to Knoxville sports talk. I knew way more about Tennessee stuff than I should have, but that was the only thing you get. It was like pre-iHeart. You couldn't even listen to other stuff back then. This was like still radio, kids. So you just get the sports talk from Knoxville. I'd call in, and especially when Kentucky's about to play, and Brock would call in, and so we got to know each other that way. But when Kentucky lost, he put on his Facebook, "We are all peacocks right now." Being a Tennessee fan as he is, that's no surprise. So I said, okay. When y'all went out to Michigan, I had to hit him with the "We are Wolverines right now," and he was like, "Well played, man. I see what you was doing." I said, "Man, I saw your Facebook post. I had to come back at you." And it was that fun sports banter that when everybody is got it, got their wits about them and not getting stupid with it.
And that's been, I know you saw what I put on Facebook, because this is what happens every year when Kentucky loses. Some fans take it to places that I'm not here for. And if you just say, hey, 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 we're all peacocks, okay, good, we got that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Or, look at Kentucky losing, okay. But the second it starts becoming, well, Kentucky fans, dot, 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 I'm out. I'm not here for it. And so I do a pretty good job about not friending everybody that sends me a request.
Oh
I've
yeah.
had a lot of people send me a request. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not on Facebook. And so, uh, and every year when Kentucky loses, Kentucky fans and y'all all this and that and the other, delete, bye. I've had people go to Mama B and be like, Terry deleted me, unfriended me on Facebook. And she's like, I don't know what any of those words mean in this context. And I'm like, look, you can say what you want. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I don't want to see it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is
Yep.
fair.
Yep.
But yeah, good natured ribbing. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's objectively funny. Kentucky losing to a peacock, like that's just a funny thing to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny last week, but it's funny
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And with them playing as well as they did, look, I tell you what, if we just squeaked out that win, we weren't beating Murray State, which would have been worse. If Kentucky lost to Murray State in the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
that would have been worse, because
Yeah.
that is an in-state situation. And when we don't play Murray anyway,
Right. Mm-hmm. And they've been dying
so
to play us.
right,
Yeah. Ooh.
we
So
would have gone that game wounded, and Murray would have it would have been a different ball game. And that is a game you cannot lose.
mm-hmm. So St. Peter's is the Kentucky State champs, but basically is what they
Oh
are.
yeah, they tweeted out that picture
Yeah.
of Kentucky with the peacock on it. I'm like, talky talk, man. We can't say nothing. Talky talk.
Yeah, because they beat us and Murray back to back. So,
They the champs.
and speaking of I guess the high school champs, we talked last week. The girls were starting, and so the Fighting and the Trulos, Sacred Heart won it again. Their girls went back to
Yeah.
back, and on the boys' side, GRC, the old heads called it Clark County. Now it's George Rogers Clark. I think they were ended up being 37-1. They only lost one game all year, but they didn't lose to any team in the state of Kentucky. They were undefeated against every in-state opponent that they played. They had a tough game with Lincoln County. Like the semifinals and the finals are both on Saturday. A double overtime knockdown drag out with Lincoln County, and then still came back Saturday night and won the championship. So congratulations to GRC and our guys. The big things Kentucky. Those on YouTube, Coach Truck and Coach Bew, they all over the high school scene. They got the press conferences on video. They going to here and there, so they cover it all way more extensively than we do. But congratulations to Sacred Heart and to GRC, your boys and girls, KHSAA Sweet 16 state champions.
Yeah. Good for them. Anna Trullo, she even having her chest pumped out. That's excellent. So yeah, I kept up with that, from afar. I mean, I with Seneca not being really good, I really haven't kept up with high school sports. Even when I was in high school, we weren't really good at much. So it's not really my and I'm not knocking people that do. I
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
it ain't never Seneca. So why am I looking? Uh, all
I did listen at work. I would listen. There was an app because our guy Cameron Mills calls a bunch of those games. It's usually him and like You got the guy, the voice of EKU. Sometimes Paul Rogers is there.
Yeah, they
Stan,
got a lot of those guys. Yeah,
Stan Harden, the coach at Fairdale, who won a couple titles back to back in the
yeah,
'90s.
way back when. Yeah, yeah.
He gets on there and he's just old gruff high school coach, but he gives his analysis as to what's going on. But I'll listen to Cam and call some of those games, and so I peep in on the Sweet 16. I don't go every year. I don't keep up, every game all throughout the season. Now, in 2004, I will say, back before it was Harlan County, it was still Cumberland where I went to school. Cumberland won the 13th region and made it to Rupp Arena for the first time in school history. And I was living in Tennessee then, but I drove all the way to Lexington because I was like, this is once in a lifetime.
Exactly,
The whole county was there. We were all in Rupp Arena, and I think they played. I think it was Warren Central. They got beat, but they were there. You saw people hadn't seen them forever because everybody was like, "Oh my God, here we are." This ain't never happened. We got to get up here and watch this with our own two eyes. So that was fun, and I think it was, like I said, I think it was Warren Central, and it was Warren Central that GRC beat in the final. And I meant to ask you, I almost text you when I heard it, but I was like, I'll just ask you Wednesday. Warren Central is coached by a William Unseld. I don't know if he's from Louisville or from Bowling Green or what. I think he's from Bowling Green, but I was wondering if you knew him.
I don't, and as soon as I saw that name, obviously with the Wes Unseld connection, I kind of, but my understanding is there's no relation or anything like that. So,
okay.
But man, well, we've done enough wallowing in Kentucky.
Yes.
This NFL offseason is crazy. Tom Brady back. Russell Wilson is going to Denver because they love some old quarterbacks in Denver. Man,
Tyreek to Miami, Matt Ryan to the Colts. So Carson Wentz to the Commanders, which is that one cracks me. I laugh out loud at that because if y'all didn't see what he did with the Eagles, and y'all want to get him back to, okay, Washington, if that's what you want to do, but
that one, yeah. And we haven't talked about it a whole lot, but we got to get kind of serious for a moment and talk about the Deshaun Watson stuff. It felt icky even by NFL standards how when the grand jury did not indict that it was we flipped to teams lining up for him and he's got this ridiculously guaranteed contract in Cleveland. It just feels gross. I understand innocent until proven guilt. I understand how that works, but 22 women is a lot. And it's just it's a bad look because he's going to be suspended, whatever it is this year. I don't know how you do that. I just don't know because it like I said, it's just a bad look. And the way they structured his contract, if he is suspended, he's only getting paid $1 million this year. Like everything about this is like, are we really doing this? And without shaming the NFL or whatever, it's society as a whole. We just don't protect and value women enough, and that's where we are. So yeah, we can get on here and the NFL would only do that because they've done the work and they're like, well, he's gonna come out here and throw a couple touchdowns and it kind of goes away. You can bring anybody in if you kind of figure out, okay, we can live with this pushback for a little bit, but in the long term, it's gonna be okay.
No. Yeah,
But if you're Baker Mayfield, you got to be like, what? Like, and look, man, I've not been a Baker Mayfield fan, but from number one overall pick to nobody wants this dude because the Panthers came out like, we're good with Sam Darnold. What? Like, so I don't know. There's got to be some more going on with the Baker Mayfield situation. There's
And
got to be something to it because
these
he
dudes are
hasn't been.
becoming journeymen. You go from Carson Wentz is a journeyman now. He's paid like a franchise quarterback, but
Yeah,
he's on his third team. And
yeah,
now Mayfield is kind of starting to enter into that, especially who knows where he goes and who knows if it
yeah.
even works out when he gets wherever he's gonna be sent. So yeah, it's crazy.
And he might be the number 2 or number 3 quarterback this coming season somewhere. He got
Mm-hmm.
all them commercials. Speaking of commercials,
In the Cleveland,
I saw a commercial for Subway with Jimmy Garoppolo. What the hell? Like Subway just said, get us a good looking quarterback. But his stats, we're not worried about that.
no,
Like this dude threw an interception in the Super Bowl with his eyes closed and followed up a few years later throwing a pass like this over his shoulder. What are we doing?
the
Now
ladies,
I don't
the
even go to
ladies,
Subway.
the ladies is gonna be buying Subway. That's what they're doing.
I get, but man, I'm not buying Subway. That makes me not want to buy a Subway. You put a Garoppolo up there, and
Put his
again,
little
I'm a
nana,
$4 fan.
put his little nana on there. Said she don't cook, and
Look, man, quarterbacks get that extra boost, but
it,
the NFL, it's crazy, man. It's we, and the thing is, you don't know how all this plan is going to pan out. All this is just guessing. We haven't even had the draft yet, so we don't know how that's going to shake out. I think it was Field Yates, the NFL guy, basically was saying that Cincinnati's runs got teams acting differently. I'm like, Cincinnati
best
Cincinnati got a Joe Burrow. Like that was their whole play. Like, come on, man. Like, ain't nobody trying to do what Cincinnati's doing.
imitation is a sincere form of flattery. So
Ain't
everybody
nobody
go,
trying
oh,
to imitate the
they went
Bengals.
to the Super Bowl. We gotta do what they're doing.
Then why don't somebody sign Jimmy Garoppolo? We went to the Super Bowl with him and lost. Was it? Come on now.
And Aaron Rodgers gets paid, and you think Devontae Adams is now going to get paid, and he's now in Las Vegas. And I thought they wanted to be together, or but not so much. Apparently, he's back with his boy Derek Carr from college. So he ain't even stay with Green Bay. Y'all ain't gonna franchise me, and next thing you know, he's a Raider. So that was crazy too. So
If I had to pick between Green Bay and Las Vegas, I'm going to Las Vegas too. But you're leaving Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but I'll be in Vegas. Like, okay, cool. I'm in Vegas.
you
Like people, Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins. Like, have you been to South Beach? Like, he's already got his ring. Like,
true.
he's cool.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Well, he can't say it's just about. It's always about the money. That's what I love about Carmelo. Carmelo, like, yeah, I'm here for the money. Like, now if you say that and you're only here for the money, then don't get mad when people say you ain't won a ring. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you say you're here for the money, I respect it, but
You gotta
you
take
know,
what comes with that. You gotta take the shade and the side eye that comes with it. You know, you said what
absolutely.
everybody's thinking.
Like if you're gonna make that business decision, then make the business decision. But uh, and the thing you have to keep in mind is it's rare for, particularly in the NFL, these dudes get a chance to pick where they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron touched on that. I know the decision, blah blah blah, but you get on these contracts and they're advantageous to the teams where you can keep your guys, you can franchise, you can do all this kind of stuff. And when dudes finally get the chance to go, you know, it it to me it's more than just. I mean, money is the biggest thing I would think, but I don't want to live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Are you kidding me? Like it gets cold in Green Bay.
It's true. It's
Like
true.
even if you play with Aaron Rodgers and you're good enough to get home field advantage, you're still running around Green Bay, Wisconsin in
Mm,
January, which doesn't sound fun to me at all.
that's true.
Well,
Very
you're
true.
going to Las Vegas. Have you been to Vegas? Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
And the Raiders made the playoffs, so it's not like he's going to a terrible franchise.
Right. Right.
So, now
And,
granted, the AFC West going to be a little bit tougher,
mhm,
but I still, if you're the Raiders, I think they've got some pieces. And the way they
yeah.
rebounded after John Gruden left, you got to
Mhm.
think that some of that will carry over to next year. So why not, man?
Mhm.
And
That's
you're
it.
probably tired of Aaron Rodgers' foolishness.
Yo. Yo.
The
And,
biggest thing, though, is he probably wants to beat the 49ers in the playoffs. So you have to find a place where you can get that done.
yeah. That's
Boy, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. This NFL season, losing the NFC Championship game was terrible. Hurt my heart. But boy, giving me some trash talking stuff for the Cowboys and Packers fans in my life, that is great. Because y'all got to live with losing to Jimmy G at home. You got to live with that.
mm,
You gotta. Like
yeah. That is
I know you got Dak and you got Zeke and you got this
mm,
dude and that dude, but boy, you
yeah.
lost to Jimmy G out at home. And
Sure
Aaron
do.
Rodgers, he MVP in Lambeau Field, the Frozen Tundra. And boy, you lost to Jimmy G. You lost to Jimmy G.
Man, that is true. Now that I thought I
Yeah,
was past it. I thought I was
I
past it. Yeah,
I
you bring
am a
it all
lot of
back.
Packers because when Aaron Rodgers signed that contract, I put on my social media. I said I had a lot of money to pay somebody that can't beat Jimmy G. Then I had a lot of Packers. Well, actually, I was like, I know Jimmy G didn't complete no passes. That's the joke. How are you going to be a quarterback that isn't completing passes?
That's
Come on now. Well, if it wasn't for the block punt, yes, that is my point exactly. That's what it took. Because you can't come on now.
yeah. Y'all only scored 10 points. Y'all only scored 10 points. And like you said, he couldn't wait to get the NFC Championship game at home after losing to y'all out there. I got to get one
In
of these at
2019.
home. Got to
That's what
get
he
one
said
of
after
these
the
at
game.
home.
He's like, we're
Yeah,
gonna get him at home.
get one of these
Then
at
you
home.
got him at
And
home with Jimmy G, no completed passes. Like, woo! That's got
point
to be tough. So that you got to find the good in sports where you can.
two, the last game of the season was beat Jacksonville, and the Colts would have made the playoffs. They went out and got beat 23-3, and winning you're in, and they didn't even come close. Did you see the article in Athletic about Urban Meyer? All the stuff is starting to come out now, and that's who
So
Carson Wentz lost to. That's all. That's you just had to beat him to make the playoffs, and he don't even know who Aaron Donald is, and he don't know nothing about nothing. And Carson Wentz couldn't even beat them to get to the playoffs.
it's probably no secret that Urban Meyer is like this. Uh, that he's a bully,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's the guy that he wears out his welcome wherever he goes. Like we talk about, Cal kind of losing the fans. Like the thing that always stuck out to me is when Urban Meyer left places, they weren't sad to see him go.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all the championships at Bowling Green, at Utah, at Florida, even at Ohio State,
Yeah.
they're like, all right, cool. Like nobody was really sad to see him go.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to assume just from the stories in that athletic piece, he didn't just start being a jackass in Jacksonville.
Right.
People knew about this. But you can yell at a college kid. You can't yell at no grown man like that.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's part of the issue is these dudes think they can do that. You can't yell at your coaches like this and players like this.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
top of not knowing who Aaron freaking Donald is, like
99 might give us trouble.
that, that's coaching malpractice. That is the kind of situation where if you're Brian Flores with your suit against the NFL, you just make that Exhibit G. Like, this dude got all this stuff, and he didn't know who Aaron Donald was.
Now, to
Because
be fair, I think they beat the Dolphins when they played in like London or whatever. I think Flores took an L against him, but that's
I
whatever.
think so too. But my point is, look, Urban Meyer just need to ride off into the sunset.
Should have stayed there the first time he rode off.
Absolutely. Hopefully, I thought he was decent on TV, but
Yeah.
just stay gone. But these kind of people don't stay gone. You want them to stay gone, they don't stay gone.
Can't do it.
But it was just terrible. You can't. I'm gonna send you guys back. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for football, y'all couldn't make $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Boy, that's wild as hell. And he was saying stuff like
we
that
don't need
in Ohio
scouts.
State.
Scouts are lazy. Scouts are worthless, and they're all talking about we don't need them. And he's saying that right there to everybody's face. They're the scouts in the room. Just
and look, and you can't. If I'm an assistant coach, you can't do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
Kicking
the kicker. You better make your bleeping kicks as you kick him.
Man, we got a fist fight. Look, let me tell you something. Look, I worked at a place in Lexington when I was at UK, Circuit City. I can say it because it's closed now. We had a manager, assistant manager, can't remember. His whole thing was he liked to yell and scream and cuss. That was his whole thing. And when he got upset and blah, 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 MF, this, that, and the other. He yelled at me one day. I said, hey, man, you can't yell at me like that. What the hell's wrong with you? Well, that's just how I am. Look, let me tell you something. This is in front of people. You yelling at me in front of me, I'm talking in front of people. Look, we can be manager employee all day. If you like Terry, you need to take out trash. I'm on it. Terry, blah, 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 your performance, I'm on it. You start cussing me, my dad don't cuss me like this. I said, look, you cuss, I'm a cuss. I said, we go out in the parking lot on Nicholasville Road, we can fist fight. Every time you can't do me like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just how I am. Ain't nobody gonna yell at me like my dad never yelled at me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I ain't gonna be a whole bunch of stuff from you and my dad. What? I just yell. That's how I am. Well, you do that with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just not how you treat people.
Nope.
That can't be the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
And the screaming, yelling coaches, that day is done. You've got to when you see who's the successful coaches, it's these calm. I'm not a Tony Bennett fan. He's not a screamer.
Yeah.
Jay Wright's as cool as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
You look at in the NBA, I don't think they've ever had a screaming coach in the NBA because that ain't happening. Like you, I don't care who you are, you're not screaming at LeBron like he is somebody's like that. The NBA has never been where the yellers go, right? That is not. They yell at the officials, but you not yelling. Can you imagine Pat Riley yelling at Magic? You missed the guy on the wing. Bleep the bleep the bleep. What? Magic got rid of a coach for doing less than that.
He sure did.
No,
that's how you got here in the first place, Pat.
Right. And I'll replace you too. Right. But at the college level, that screaming and yelling stuff, that is not, no, man. That day is done. I have said my piece to some of the girls' coaches, like, look, if you need to set my girl straight, that's fine. But I don't yell at her and you don't need to. There's a way you can do that with respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm raised. But when you look at Urban Meyer doing all this, kicking a kicker, that's a fist fight. Like, that's a fist fight. You kick me, you have said, hey, I want to fight you, kick. Like, and like I told that manager, well, you think you can whip me? That's not what I said. I just said we would fight. I didn't say I was going to whip you, but if you want to fight, we can fight. Like Urban Meyer kicked me, he may whip my ass, but you kick me, that is a fight. I don't care how you dress it up. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. Joe Biden can't come in here, call me a bunch of truckload of MF and kick me. Now we got a fist fight. You
Mm-hmm.
can't operate like that.
No.
We're moving away from that in all parts of life. And what happens is these guys get successful, a lot of them, and they start believing their own hype.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Urban Meyer way, dude. And look, we make fun of Nick Saban, but Saban is not one of those guys. He's not showing up his assistants. He's not showing up his players. You
Yeah.
know that we've
Mm-hmm.
heard of. I mean, obviously we
Mm-hmm.
don't know how things go, but it
Yeah.
doesn't appear like that's how he's running it.
Yeah, he'll spaz out on the sideline, but but as far as we don't know him doing Urban Meyer stuff. Sure don't.
Yeah, but you can't do that. That Iowa had to get rid of its strength coach for doing that kind of stuff. I'm gonna
Sure,
send you back.
yeah.
What the hell? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
No, man.
Yeah.
Not even the racist connotation of that, but just you can't say that to anybody. I'm gonna send you out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, what? You can't do that to people's children. You can't
Yeah.
even, and you can't do that to adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Had to
But
check
I would have
for.
been out if the dude was like, I don't know who Aaron Donald is. Then why the hell are you here? Like, come on, man. I
Yeah.
that on all the other stuff, but at least be good at your job. Like, like if you're gonna yell at me like this, at least know what the hell you doing.
Right. Yeah. And
That's the thing too. Well, TB, you a lazy ML. Okay, who Aaron Donald is? What? Like, you what? Come on, man.
pitiful. And the
Like
hiring
your boss.
process.
Yeah, the hiring process should be: do you know who the defensive player of the year is? Like, I gotta hold up flashcards. Do you know who? Have you heard of Tom Brady? Well, yeah, he's in New England. All right, next candidate. That needs to be
Mm-hmm.
part of it. They do all these stupid tests at the combine and ask people all this inappropriate stuff. Why don't you ask the coaches if they know who the hell the stars of the league is? How
Yeah.
long is a football field? How many downs do you get for a first down? What's the yardage? Like, let's take it back. Let's bring it all the way back.
Mm-hmm. And on a sad note too, we talked about this NFL. Condolences to John Clayton passed away,
Oh man,
and
yeah.
man, he we saw him. We come on and do his hit, do his insider report, Sports Center, different points and times, and whatever it was, he was bringing knowledge. I think he was 68, 69 years old. I'm never gonna forget the commercial where he just had the little
Top
Velcro partial suit on with Stan
top
Verrett
five This
kneeling.
Is Sports Center commercial. And
Mom,
and
my segment.
and going back to that, that's when ESPN was ESPN. When we were, we talk about, before, and I sound like an old person, before social media, but when you had to watch back-to-back Sports Center, and John Clayton was just like, it was like a voice from God coming to let you know what was going on. So with them passing away, that's tough. But that commercial, absolutely hilarious.
With LeBron and Scott Van Pelt, where Scott had his chair. You see my chair, Scott? No, LeBron. And it's the big throne, and LeBron goes and sits on a little bit off his chair and about breaks it down to the ground. And Scott is sitting there in LeBron's throne talking about, I haven't, good luck finding your chair, LeBron. I always like that.
Yeah, we could do a whole show on the Sports Center of that era and those Sports Center commercials. I like the Western Kentucky one where the Hilltopper is staying outside the bathroom and they're like, why don't you just go outside? There's that one that's good. Drew Brees trying to park a parade
Oh,
float.
yeah.
The Mark McGuire where he gives, I think is it Dan Patrick? I can't remember. Or it might be Kenny Mayne gives them home run ball number 62. He's like, keep it. And then he shows up in a sports car. There's really good, LaDainian Tomlinson trying to do the mail.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis got one, blocking spam sites or whatever it was. He was a spam blocker. Yeah, that campaign. I mean,
yeah, it was
just random. The New Jersey Devil in the elevator, where I can't remember what tanker it was. Like, you going up, and he's like, And he's like, "I'll catch the next one."
Yeah.
There's that one. The Arnold Palmer at the thing. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we could go through all those really good ones. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
For
all the
sure.
Pirates coming in and raid the conference room. You got like the Seton Hall Pirate and the Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Like all they just come in and ravage and they leave. It's all
Oh,
good. It's all good. But yeah, John
absolutely.
Clayton definitely
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hate to
definitely is
hear that.
that. And it's you and I growing up on ESPN. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely than it used to be. I do not watch Sports Center back to back to back to back.
Yeah. No, not anymore. Not anymore. Um, UK baseball had their first SEC series. It kind of went kind of rough in Arkansas. I think they beat Moorhead last night. Got Georgia coming in the Kentucky Proud Park this weekend, so if they can get some traction going and not dig a big hole in
Oh
the
yeah, got to
SEC
keep it
play.
going.
The softball team is doing well. Took one on the chin last night. Number one Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, it was a
And
sellout. Yeah.
yeah, it was cool seeing the line of people lining up at the gate, before the game started. I think the softball account tweeted that out. Oklahoma showed out though; they hit like 6 or 7 home runs and they won nine
Oh
to
yeah,
one. But they're the
and
number
they've
one
run
team in the
ruled a bunch of
country.
people.
They're undefeated. They're killing
It's it's
everybody.
it's,
So,
it's different. It's different,
mhm.
but I do think that that's good that the softball team you got to to beat the best, you got to play the best. So
Yeah, and
uh,
that's what you're shooting for. That's who you're trying to get up there with. And so
oh
it was
yeah,
on the SEC network. It was on national TV. John Crop Stadium on full display. So that was cool. And they'll shake that off and continue to have a good season that they're having, and might get Oklahoma again in a regional or somewhere in the postseason. Might see them again down the road too.
that's the key for the softball team is they've got to get to the point where they can host a super regional.
Yeah,
Because they've hosted a lot of regionals. They win those, and then they have to go to Oregon. They have to go to
yeah,
the Oklahoma. They
Washington.
have to
Mm-hmm.
go, yeah, and they've got to get some of those at home. So hopefully they will turn that around.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, man, I think we covered all the bases. We licked all the wounds,
Yeah,
hit
yeah,
all the
it's a tough one.
yeah, hit all the hot topics. Um, we'll see who does what, who goes where, and all this. You know how we do. We don't sweat every little move that's made or
Yeah,
not made when it comes to the roster. When it happens, we'll talk about it. But if we ain't gonna be panicking about Shaden Sharp, is he? Y'all ain't gonna find that here. Y'all
oh,
listen to this show long enough to know that ain't how we do. So
yeah. I'm not going to. I don't have the bandwidth to keep track of all that kind of stuff. Some people are going to go. Some people are going to stay. Some people are going to come in.
yeah.
Uh, that's just kind of the nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's not going to be like it was in the '90s, where you could build consistency from one year to the next. Nobody's doing that. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't say nobody's doing that, but that's not the way we're going to do it here. It's going to be transfer portal. It's going to be kids coming in. Uh, that's just the way it is. So
Yep.
why worry? There's other stuff to worry about.
It sure is. So we'll talk about all that as it happens. It's not like we're gonna anticipate, one way or another, something for 3 or 4 weeks until it does happen, and then we'll talk about the NBA playoffs, which my Rockets won't be a part of. Your Lakers might not be a part of. Maybe they get a play in, maybe they don't. We'll be hitting all that as well as whatever other fun stuff comes up along the way.
Yeah, like I said, man, I'm cool with it. As a now the young Lakers fans that came of age post Shaq and Kobe, they're losing their minds. They're
Mm-hmm.
losing their minds. But old heads like myself, like man, I ain't even worried about it, man.
That's it. That's it. We done learn. We done got experience. We done become seasoned adults on stuff like that.
11 championships, man,
That's it.
and I
That's it.
remember 7.
That's yeah.
I
You've seen
remember from
enough.
I
You're
was
good.
from 85 coming forward. So 85, 87, 88, the three-peat. Actually, I know more than that. 85, 87, 88, a three-peat. That's 6 right there. And
Mm-hmm.
then 2 with Kobe and Powell. That's 8. Is that right? I
Kobe
gotta
and
go
Powell
do my
get
math.
2.
Do what?
Did Kobe and Powell get 2 or just
They,
1?
they got 2.
Oh, that's right. They beat
2000,
Orlando. Beat Orlando, and then they beat Boston.
2009, 2010. Yeah, and
That's
then
right.
they got the
Yeah,
Celtics in 2010. So
yeah, that's right.
I've seen a lot, and
Yeah, you're good. You're set for
so
life. You're good.
I'm not set for life, but I ain't gonna
Set
worry
for
about
life.
it.
Set for life.
You
Those
know,
are plenty.
you can come over to the Lakers side, Vinny. I'll send you some swag. It'll be great. Because you're a Kentucky fan, I can send you a Malik Monk jersey, a Wenyon
Mm,
Gabriel jersey,
wow,
who's been balling out. Like, where'd Wenyon come from? But yeah,
man. Mm,
just think about it.
that's wow.
You can make that transition. I will facilitate that for you.
Oh man, I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't do it. Got respect, but I just can't be
Because
moving over there.
I was going to send you if the 49ers didn't close it out against the Chiefs, I was going to send you a 49ers t-shirt. So God don't like ugly. That's probably what happened because I was getting I, I was I was gonna do some things,
Yeah.
but yeah, another great show.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess we'll
Absolutely.
watch the rest of the NCAA tournament. It's like we talked about with Dana Falk last week. Now I didn't watch any games on Friday. Like Friday, my heart was too broken, but I got back into it Saturday and Sunday, and it
Mm-hmm.
hurt on Saturday with St. Peter. It always hurts when I'm like, oh man, Kentucky could have been there.
Mm-hmm. It's so
Because
weird.
depending on how they lose is whether or not I'll watch. If they lose in the Final Four, I never watch the championship game.
Mm,
2015, didn't watch.
mm-hmm.
2011, didn't watch.
No.
Um, in '99, I didn't even watch the Final Four
Yeah.
after we
Mm-hmm.
lost to Michigan State. So depending
Mm-hmm.
on how and when Kentucky loses, uh, whether or not I'll watch. But I took the day off of basketball Friday, but I'm right back on it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. See what happens tomorrow. Come on, Texas Tech. That's all I'm saying. Let's go. And look, we hadn't talked about it, but for those listening, y'all can listen. Like I said, wherever you get your podcasts, watch on Roku. Type BS3 TV in the search. And if you want to advertise and promote your business, we'd be happy to talk about it. Thanks again to Gatorade and Ben Sutter and BS3. But we had an NIL opportunity because you were going to pay $50 to any kid who scores 6 points and comes on and gives the intro. So whoever, if it might be a kid for Texas Tech, who beats them,
whoever beat, look, I said I
NIL
would pay.
opportunity. NIL
I
opportunity, kids.
I would pay $50 to whatever school beats Duke in the tournament. But then I said, why do that when we can just how about we all have a GoFundMe and whoever gets some players off the team that beats Duke, just come on, do the intro here. Do I think that's what NIL is for? Because
Yes.
North Carolina do that. Just be like, I'm Joe Jones. I scored 6 points or beating Duke and Coach K's last year. Why don't you drink this Gatorade? Like, I think that would be fantastic and petty.
NIL opportunity. NIL opportunity. So there you go. Letting everybody know it's out there. You tweeted a few days ago. It was out there on the Twitter sphere, and now it's out here on the airwaves and on
Yes,
the
sir.
Roku television. So another
All
fun
right.
show. Play action pools, lots of rain watches. Y'all check all that out. TB, appreciate you. Appreciate Gatorade. Appreciate BS3. And we'll be back next week to do it all again.
That's right. Getting ready for the Final Four. So
That's it.
we'll
Y'all
do
be
it.
cool. See everybody next week.